To His Word Heals. You can also visit us online at www.hiswordheals.com for free downloads of all of our videos, a free Healing Scriptures CD download, and 2 free books. Today we're going to play some excerpts from a video that was recently put online by Dr. Carrie Madej regarding this upcoming COVID-19 vaccination. You can find her 5 videos. She only started putting 5 videos online, looks like 2 months ago, under her name. And that's Dr. Carrie Madej, M-A-D-E-J. And they're all about the COVID vaccine. And she appears to be a Christian as well and quotes scripture. But she seems very well informed. And so I thought I'd play some excerpts from her video. So please, if you want to see the whole video, you can go to her YouTube channel, Dr. Carrie Madej, M-A-D-E-J. Okay, before we go into the video, though, I want to introduce who Dr. Carrie Madej is. Here on healthgrades.com. She has a 3-star rating, and I looked at the lower stars, and they've been put on there recently in opposition to basically these videos that she's making against the COVID-19 vaccination. So folks may want to go on here and maybe give her some higher ratings if you agree with her, because she's really taking a hit on her ratings for speaking out against the COVID-19 vaccination. But this is her MO on the healthgrades.com. Dr. Carrie Madej, D.O., is an internal medicine specialist in McDonough, Georgia, and has over 19 years of experience in the medical field. She graduated from Kansas City University of Medicine Bioscience, College of Osteopathic Medicine Medical School in 2001. She is affiliated with Southern Regional Medical Center. She is accepting new patients. Be sure to call ahead. So she's really taking a hit probably in her practice for speaking out. So we need to be in support of these doctors that are speaking out the truth as they understand it, which I believe is a lot more truth than what we're getting from the mainstream media and the mainstream doctors.
And I want you to know about this. You need to be very well informed, because this new vaccine is not like your normal flu vaccine. This is something very different. This is something brand new. This is something completely experimental on the human race. And it's not just about being a different vaccine. There are technologies that are being introduced with this vaccine that can change the way we live, who we are, and what we are, and very quickly. I think that some people that you might know these names, Elon Musk, who is the founder of SpaceX and Tesla Automotive, as well as Ray Kurzweil, who is one of the bigwigs of Google. These are self-proclaimed transhumanists. They believe that we should go to human 2.0, and they are very big proponents of this. There's a lot of other people that you might know their names. They're also involved with this, so you should look that up. I think the easiest way to explain this to you is to go with one of the front runners for the vaccine and go into a little bit of the history and tell you how they want to make the vaccine. And I think that will speak volumes. So for instance, Moderna is one of the front runners for the COVID-19 vaccine. You should know that Moderna was founded by a person from Harvard, Derek Rossi, and this researcher actually was successful in taking some modified RNA and being able to reprogram a stem cell in the body and change the function of the stem cell. He actually made it genetically modified, okay? So he proved that you can genetically modify something by using modified RNA. So they founded the company Moderna on this concept. It's kind of a new kid on the block, okay? It's not been around that long. In fact, it hasn't even made any vaccine for a human before. It's made no medicine for a human before. This will be their first run. You must know that Moderna was in the news recently because it really fast-tracked. It's like the other companies, it's fast-tracking the vaccine. It's going from phase 1 to phase 2 very, very quickly. In fact, it's gone from phase 1 to phase 3 in its experiments from March of this year until currently. I mean, that is unbelievable. It usually takes 5 or 6 years. How are they able to do this with the safety and efficacy data that we need?
We have a video, if you haven't watched it, that actually answers the question that she's asking. We believe that they are able to fast track this because of the Human Genome Project and supercomputers, and they're relying on those computers, the AI and the Human Genome Project, to come up with these vaccinations so that they can fast track them without extensive research or testing. So you may want to watch our video called Human Genome Project COVID-19 Test, NIH, the National Institutes of Health, Supercomputers, Quantum Dot Tattoo Vaccine, AI, and more. It's down the rabbit hole and kind of ties everything together because everything is tied together. So you want to check out that video. Go to our website at hiswordheals.com. You can click on our videos page or our blog page and find the link to that video.
And I want you to know that in phase 2, they're only using between 30 and 45 humans. In Moderna's test study, they only used 45 humans. And with the high dose vaccine group, they got 100% of those people got systemic side effects. 100. That's only in the short side effect profile. In the low dose vaccine, 80% got systemic side effects. Now, we don't even know the long-term side effects from that. We would need a lot longer time, right? Maybe years. But we do know, based on previous animal studies of using this technology, that you can expect possibly increased cancer rates, increased mutant genes, mutagenesis, also increased autoimmune reactions. For instance, in some of the ferret studies, they saw that when the ferret was introduced to the virus that they were trying to protect the ferret from after the ferret got the vaccine, they actually had an exaggerated immune response. It actually hurt the ferret. They had more lung inflammation, more lung fluid, even some problems with their liver. It actually hurt them. They had a poorer response. Okay, so those are longer term reactions, and that could be seen with this vaccine, but we don't know the data yet. So it's not without risk. And how are they doing this? Well, they're actually suggesting to use a platform. Let me just explain how they would administer the vaccine. So the vaccine, there's an idea called Microneedle Platform, okay? This was developed by MIT. And they said it could be very easily produced, okay, and mass produced. This is why they're proposing this technology, and many millions of vaccines could be made quickly. They could also be administered by yourself. So the idea is to get a Band-Aid. It looks like a Band-Aid you buy in the drugstore. It's shipped to you through Amazon or UPS or some other shipping service. You take it out of the package, you put it on your hand like this, and then you take the sticker off, and voila, you've been vaccinated. So how is that possible? Well, in this Band-Aid, it has little tiny spicules, little tiny needles, and this was designed after a snake viper fang bite, okay, or snake viper vangs, so little snake bites. Anyway, in these tiny little spicules, modified RNA or modified DNA. Let's take Moderna, modified RNA. So in that modified RNA, the idea is that the microneedles would puncture into your cell membrane, okay? And this synthetic piece of an RNA, it's a code for the part of the virus. They could use a synthetic DNA. It's a code for the part of the virus, would go into your nucleus. Your body would start transcribing it, would start reading it, and making more of that part of the virus. Well, why would we want to make more of the virus or part of the virus? The idea is your body would get used to seeing it, would know how to make antibodies, and would have an improved T-cell response. And the idea is then when you saw it in the future, your body would already know how to fight it, and it would be a better response. That's the idea. The problem with that is they're using something called a process called transfection, and transfection is a way that we make genetically modified organisms. Okay, I think you know about those fruits and vegetables. They're not as healthy as the normal wild type fruit and vegetable. So possibly you could extrapolate that to a human. If we become genetically modified, we would not be as healthy, okay? We don't have long-term studies on this anyway. This is unbelievable. And, you know, the vaccine manufacturers have made the statement, this will not alter our DNA, our genome. I say that is not true. Because if we use this process to make a genetically modified organism, why would it not do the same thing to a human? I don't know why they're saying that. Now, if you look at the definition of transfection, it'll tell you that it can be a temporary change in the cell. And I think that's what the vaccine manufacturers are banking on. It's temporary. Or it's a possibility for it to become stable, to be taken up into the genome, and so stable that it will start replicating when the genome replicates, meaning it is now a permanent part of your genome. That's a chance that we're taking. So it could be temporary or it could be permanent. And we would never know that for years down the road, honestly.
Is this perhaps what Yeshua was talking about in Matthew 24:22, when he said, "And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened"?
So here we go. We've got something that can alter our genome. It's a possibility. And another thing on that, if they're altering the genome, what would be the effects? I told you previously some of the side effects, but also we need to know that this is a synthetic piece of DNA or RNA, okay? And if it becomes taken up into the genome of a human, it's synthetic, it's not from nature. And if you look at the Supreme Court justice ruling on synthetic DNA or genes, it can be patented, and patents have owners. So what does that mean for us? What if this gets into our genome? Does that mean Moderna or the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or the Department of Defense, all of these people who are involved in the patents, or are they somehow going to own part of our genome?
Here's the information on that Supreme Court case. It's Diamond versus Chakrabarti, argued March 17th, 1980, decided June 16th, 1980. You can see it over here on the side, the information about it. Let's see, the full case was Sidney A. Diamond, named Commissioner of Patents and Trademarks, versus Ananda M. Chakrabarti and others. The case history, okay, the holding. Living man-made microorganism is patentable subject matter as a manufacture or composition of matter within the meaning of the Patent Act of 1952. The fact that the organism sought to be patented is alive is no bar on patentability. Decision of the Court of Customs and Patent Appeals affirmed. Court membership, etc., etc., court case opinions, majority dissent, so some dissent, but the majority opinion was yes, living organisms that have been genetically modified are patentable. So again, go to our website, hiswordheals.com, and watch this video, because we also explain in this video called Down the Rabbit Hole, Everything is Tied Together, Human Genome Project, COVID-19 Test, NIH, Supercomputers, Quantum Dot Tattoo, Vaccine, AI, and more. In here, we explain how the Quantum Dot Tattoo vaccine puts little puncture holes with a pattern into your skin and leaves a pattern that identifies the vaccine that you've been vaccinated with, and could also be a maker's mark or a Mason's Mark Masters Mason's maker mark. And it's a tongue twister, but it's all explained in that video. And it's a way that the enemy can put his mason's mark on his living stones. We are living stones in the temple of Yahweh when we belong to him through Yeshua, we are told in Scripture. And so perhaps the enemy this is his way of building his living stones tabernacle by marking not only our skin with these quantum dot tattoos in a pattern that identify him as our maker, but also putting his maker's mark into our DNA permanently into the human genome. So please take a look at that video and let us know what you think in the comments below the video, and please share it if you think it has value. Share it on social media. Help us blow the shofar and get this message out.
It's a possibility. You need to know that. So that's one part of this delivery system, just one. Now let me go to the next. The next part of the delivery system is a luciferase enzyme. Okay, they named it, they patented it luciferase. I don't like that name. Luciferase because it has bioluminescent qualities, which means it can produce a light, or it has a light source. And all of this would be under your skin and you cannot see it. Now, the luciferase is an idea because they want to make sure that you're vaccinated. They don't trust medical records. They don't trust you saying that you got vaccinated. They want to make sure, and they want to make sure it was successful, a successful transfection, a successful gene modification. So when you get the luciferase enzyme, if you have an iPhone or a special app on the iPhone, you can scan over that area and it will give a digital code, a digital imprint, a digital pattern, something that will identify that you were vaccinated. It holds your vaccination record. It also gives you an ID, a number, a barcode, a branding, whatever you want to call it, a tattoo. It's all the same thing. You now become like a product.
Here's everything you need to know about luciferase if you doubted what she's saying on Wikipedia. Luciferase is a generic term for the class of oxidative enzymes that produce bioluminescence, and again we have the quantum dot tattoo that leaves fluoresce under the skin, and is usually distinguished from a photoprotein. The name was first used by Raphael Dubois, who invented the words luciferin and luciferase for the substrate and enzyme respectively. Both words are derived from the Latin word lucifer, meaning light bringer. And we can go to Google Patent and see thousands of patents using luciferase, but it only makes sense that this would be used as the fluoresce in the quantum dot tattoo vaccine, as well as it also is injected, can be injected and attached to proteins of vaccination things that go into our cell. I read some of these, and that's what it does. It attaches to the enzymes that go into our cells with these vaccinations. Nonetheless, a very interesting name for this enzyme that's going to be used in quantum dot vaccines.
So we have that. Now the third thing I mentioned was hydrogel. So hydrogel is actually an invention from DARPA, the Department of Advanced Research Projects Agency. This is kind of a sci-fi kind of a group from the Department of Defense, Pentagon of the US government. They make these fantastic inventions. So one of them is hydrogel. Hydrogel, you can YouTube, look on YouTube, look at Profusa is one of the companies, DARPA as well as hydrogel, and you'll find some little 2-minute clips that they describe. So hydrogel is nanotechnology, microscopic little robots. And these little robots, actually, I know it sounds crazy, it's still crazy to me, but it's possible, okay? They can disassemble, reassemble, assemble and make different things. So with this hydrogel, it's really nanotechnology. So that's something, robotic or something that's artificial intelligence. It has the ability to connect with artificial intelligence. So this means that a human can now connect to directly and gather information from our bodies and gather it and connect with your smartphone, with the cloud, with some other smart device. And once this is done, this is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Think about that. Think about how immediately that could change our privacy. Immediately it can change our autonomy. Immediately change our freedoms. This can gather data like your blood sugar, your oxygen, your blood pressure. Okay, those sound great. But it also can gather many other things. It can gather, they say, your emotions or your menstrual cycle, your activity, if you've fallen, your nutrients in your body. If you took medicines, it's a potential to see if you took illicit drugs. It's got a potential to see almost anything that goes on in your body. And all of this information is going where? That has not been addressed. Who's protecting this information? What are they using it for? This is really serious stuff, guys. This is all being proposed to being unveiled in the next vaccine, okay?
Here you go. Here's just one patent on Google Patents for Hydrogel Nanotechnology, systems and methods for magnetic guidance and patterning of materials. Systems and methods generally useful in medicine, cellular biology, nanotechnology, and cell culturing are discussed. In particular, at least in some embodiments, systems and methods for magnetic guidance and patterning of cells and materials are discussed. Some specific applications of these systems and methods may include levitated culturing of cells away from a surface, making and manipulating patterns of levitated cells, and patterning culturing of cells on a surface. Specifically, a method of culturing cells is presented. The method may comprise providing a plurality of cells, providing a magnetic field, and levitating at least some of the plurality of cells in the magnetic field, wherein the plurality of cells comprise magnetic nanoparticles. The method may also comprise maintaining the levitation for a time sufficient to permit cell growth to form an assembly. And we can go down a little further here and see. It says, description, federally sponsored research statement. This invention was made with government support under NSF grant number, blah, 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 and Army Medical Research and Material Command grant number. The government has certain rights in the invention. Then we go down to background. The present disclosure relates generally to systems and methods useful in medicine, cellular biology, nanotechnology, and cell culturing. In particular, at least in some embodiments, the present disclosure relates to systems and methods for magnetic guidance and patterning of cells and materials. Some specific applications of these systems and methods are levitated culturing of cells away from a surface. We already read that. As interest in nanotechnology, materials, and cellular biology has grown, it has become evident that a limitation is the ability to control and manipulate the pattern of cells and materials which are useful for cellular biology and medicine, such as cell culturing, tissue engineering, stem cell research, drug and nanoparticle delivery, biosensors and gene delivery, molecular and bioelectronics, and the construction of complex materials. So you can go to Google patents and read the rest of this patent for yourself to see that what she is saying in this video is absolutely true. And the Google patent number is US 9909116B2.
The other thing to know is with this nanotechnology, hydrogel, artificial intelligence, hookup. Just like your cell phone, you can send a text message, you can send an email, but also you can receive them back. So that means we could receive information. What information would be coming back into us? Would it affect our mood, our behavior? Would it affect, how we think or our memories? If you haven't watched the movie Matrix, I think you should. I think there's some truth in that, in that movie. I see so many wrong things with this vaccine. And I see that we are not talking about it in the major media. And I feel that these companies are outright lying to us when they say they cannot affect our DNA. Because by all definitions that they are using, this can affect our DNA. And let me also tell you that there's some major names behind these vaccines. You're always going to see like the Department of Defense from the US government, sometimes DARPA, like I told you. Why is the military involved with our vaccines? You see the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation everywhere with this. If you look, you'll find that name almost always. And let's go back to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I want you to look up let's look at the track record. Let's look at what the man stands for. His family comes from a family of eugenics. What does eugenics mean? Population control, meaning there's too many people on the planet. That's important to know. He's been on video stating that he thinks with a very good new vaccine, we could get the Earth's population to be decreased by 10 to 15%. Well, who's going to stay and who's going to go? And who is he to decide? He doesn't have a medical background, no epidemiology background, no science background. He's not a doctor, a software tech. That's what he has. I'd also like you to realize, I always look at who has a vested interest. What are their motivations? What is his motivation, right? We already know his family background. Well, what's very concerning to me is that DARPA, this military agency, as well as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, is very interested in something called gene drive research or technology, or gene extinction technology.
Here you go. You can certainly learn a lot on Google patents. Here we have patent JP20175116885A, an RNA-guided Cas9 gene drive, and methods of use thereof are disclosed. Embodiments of the present disclosure are based on the use of RNA-derived DNA binding proteins that co-localize with the guide RNA at the target DNA site and serve as a gene drive. So I put find on this page just for speed. I put in extinction here, see what this gene drive has to do with extinction. And let's see what it says. Here's our first one. According to certain aspects, a method for suppression or extinction of a target population, according to the methods described herein, includes releasing an RNA-induced genetic load drive into the target population. As used herein, genetic load may refer to the difference between the theoretically optimal genotype fitness in a population and the observed average genotype fitness in a population. The term genetic load may further refer to a decrease in the average fitness of a population compared to maximum fitness. So they're differentiating, it's going in and differentiating what they consider to be a good population and a bad population, and they can extinct part of a population. Let's go down to the next one. Works as a zygote drive, which can lead to extinction. Figure 6 shows that Y drive SD no longer drives when it encounters a standard drive that recodes an essential gene. The sterile daughter effect prevents mutual drive invasion until the invading population collapses. A diagram showing how to control invasive species with low and high mobility, eradicating carp populations using Y-drive male carp, Asian carp, released across invaded habitats such as the Mississippi River. So they're talking about using it on weeding out invasive species of carp here. Figure 7 shows the release of Y-drive SD male rats into an invading rat population and can cause local eradication. So they can do this with rats and carps. Why couldn't they do this with humans? Of course they could do this with humans. Wouldn't this have been Hitler's dream invention? Let's go down again to the next extinction. Population repression and extinction. According to certain embodiments, RNA-induced nucleuses, and we know that this COVID-19 vaccination that's coming up is an RNA vaccination, can create multiple different forms of sex-biasing gene drives that can be useful for population control, as shown in Figure 4A, expression of Cas9 and guide RNA targeting the X chromosome only during male meiosis results in a classic meiosis Y drive similar to that existing in nature. The meiotic gene drive removes competing sex chromosomes during meiosis, creating a biased gamete pool, etc., etc. Next, extinction. If mutation that can block drive does not occur rapidly on the X chromosome or one of the autosomes, the release of the Y drive will extinguish the local population. By releasing organisms having sex chromosomes that are resistant to cleavage, the drive can be stopped and eventually removed. Strict monitoring and control can prevent complete extinction, supposedly. Next. Similarly, transgenic crops can be used to isolate endangered species that are at risk of extinction from large or closely related species by genetic dilution. So anyway, this is a great way to manipulate populations of animals, plants, and humans. And you can go do your own research here. For time's sake, I'm not going to keep going through, but I think you get the picture that she is absolutely correct that they have this technology that can be used through RNA vaccinations to control a population, to get rid of certain unwanted populations. Again, that's patent number JP 201-751-1685A.
And it's exactly what it sounds like. By using genetic mutations, by use of transfection, for instance, you can exterminate an entire species from the planet. They are proposing to use this for mosquitoes, for instance, in Africa. But guys, our world is a delicate ecosystem. Who is saying one species goes? You destroy one species, you could affect an entire ecosystem. So when you exterminate an entire species, you will affect an entire ecosystem. It's a very delicate balance. And who's to say who's going to stay and who's going to go? Who's got that knowledge? Why aren't we talking about this? And guys, if we can do it to an insect, we can do it to an animal, we can do it to a human. I bring this up because if these agencies that are behind the vaccine also stand for that, do you trust them with your health? Do you trust them with your family? Do you trust them with our children? The other thing is we're rushing this to production. What is the motivation behind that? We need to really think about this. I also want you to know that one of the mandates, the Emergency Preparedness Act, that says they can force a vaccine on us. They cannot force a vaccine if there is a viable treatment for the COVID-19. And I want you to know that doctors around the world are being censored about treatment options for COVID-19 or prevention for COVID-19. Because if there's a true treatment or prevention, then they can't force this vaccine on us. I want to bring that up because what in the world is the motivation of doing this? Is it really in the health of all of us? As a doctor, I can't see how this is in the true health of the entire world. I think there's another motive, another agenda going on. The more I look at this, the more that comes up. So I'll leave you with this. I want to make this short and sweet so that you can digest this and think about it. Do you really want to go to human 2.0? I don't think it's the fantasy you see in the movies. We need to come together and we need to unify our voices because people in positions of power taking care of our health are not in our best interest. But together we have power. Together, united, our voice is strong. So I encourage you to do critical thinking, do your own research. Join groups in your state, go to your state legislature, and you tell them no. No to these experiments on humans. No to invasion of privacy. No to censorship. We are sovereign human souls and we need to take our rights back. Thank you for listening. And you know, I always say my videos with the greatest of love and the greatest of peace. Thank you.
Dear Abba, in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for the protection of this young woman, the protection of this doctor. I pray for her voice to be heard far and wide. I pray for this video to go far and wide, Father. I'm not so sure as she is that by speaking up we can stop any of it. However, by speaking up, we can warn people and tell people to say no. Just say no, because the alternative to saying no can affect our eternity. If this is indeed the mark of the beast, or even if it just leads to the sterilization and the extinction of children, our children being able to procreate and have more children, a certain race or characteristic in human beings, regardless of what this is, we all need to say no. And if enough of us say no, maybe it will make a difference. But even if it doesn't make a difference, we still need to say no, teach our families and friends to say no, and we need to make a stand. We need to know where we are personally going to draw the line. And we need to draw a line and know that we are not going to cross that line. We need to have that decision made far in advance, because if we don't draw a hard and fast line, that line can keep moving. And we don't want to move this line and become part of their great experiment in the extermination of the human race. Blessings and shalom to all of you and everyone in your home. Again, please go to our website, www.hiswordheals.com, and watch our videos. We have several of them on this type of topic. And please share our videos with others so that you help us to blow the shofar.